Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stitching Tales. I am Johanna Lundström, the author of several sewing books, including Fit for Knits and Sewing Jeans, and I also release my own sewing pattern and have a YouTube channel under the name The Last Stitch.
My name is Malena Hjerpe, and I work as a freelance patternmaker, and I also create my own PDF patterns under the name Hazelhen Patterns.
And in today's episode, we are going to talk a little bit about being personal online and sharing stuff about ourselves and what goes on behind the scene and the tricky balance that we sometimes find between being a person with a name and also running a brand. And this topic was actually kind of has a backstory because as long-term listeners may be aware of that I've mentioned sometimes is that I've been single for several years, and I have a lot of I think I mentioned Tinder a couple of times on this pod, and we sometimes joke off mic that we should do like a Patreon exclusive episodes on my dating life and all the crazy and fun anecdotes from that part. But unfortunately this is a sewing podcast, so we can't really talk too much about that stuff, even though I do find it really interesting to talk and gossip about dating and dating life. But that was the basis behind the idea, and then we had a discussion a while ago here about, you know, more of a wider scope on this, you know, Malena, being personal and, you know, being as we are, we have a name and we have faces, but we also run brands. So Malena, what has been your thought behind that when it comes to being personal versus a brand online?
Yeah, I think it can be such a tricky balance, and me as a person, I have a little bit of a tendency that either I forget all about filters and be like super honest and like no, just share whatever, and then I have remorse afterwards, like, ooh, what did I say? Like, was that weird, or was it like I can have a little bit of social anxiety about those things what I've been saying, especially also here. I mean, we have a podcast, very relaxed vibe. It's just two friends chatting. So afterwards it's always like, did I say something strange now or not? Or was it okay? Or, well, I mean, luckily we are not live. So if there was anything weird, like, we could stop it. But yeah, so I do have like, then I'm trying to be mindful of how to and when, and then you know, you can't really be too much restricting yourself. But yeah, I do have that like, how to do that balance, being personal or not, or because when I started Hazelhen Patterns, my name was actually Pattern by Malena, basically because I was like, what do I call it on Instagram? What do I name it? And I knew that, I mean, I'm a single person, a solo entrepreneur. I have to be my own brand. I will never be able to compete with the big four, Burda, Simplicity, and those kind of brands, because, I mean, they produce so much. I will never be able to do that. So then my unique selling point might then be that I can be personal, relatable, that they want to buy from me, and showcase my history and my perspective. So I always have had that in, like, I do want to be like, they should, like, I want people to know the person behind the brand. But yeah, I how personal should you be on Instagram? It's a constant battle, I would say, to know when to draw the line, how to draw it, and yeah, what to share. And are people interested, or do they just want to see sewing related pattern making stuff, or are you also interested in what's going on in someone else's life? So yeah, well, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky balance, I think. As you say, when as we are small brands, that we kind of need to put ourselves out there. I think having our face showing, for instance, is probably much more beneficial than just hiding between maybe tutorials without any face and things like that. So as you say, because we need to build the relationships and build trust, and we can only do that by being persons behind the brand, but that also makes us more vulnerable, and it's a little bit tricky sometimes, I think, to put your face out there, because then it gets so personal. And I think for me it's a little bit, it's two different things. For me personally, I would love to be more personal and share more stuff about my personal life online, but I don't really have the bandwidth or the place to do that, because I love reading personal blogs, and I've done that for over 20 years. So for me, I would love to share more, but I really can't. But when it comes to sewing, I do feel that conflict, because sometimes I feel, especially if I don't do it much, I do feel a bit uncomfortable about showing my face all the time, because I feel like I'm so much in your face, and I want to be about sewing. So there's definitely a conflict there, I think. But I do understand that one of the reasons why I've had some decent success is because of YouTube, where I showed my face a lot. And I think also this podcast is what we are doing as well. I mean, we're showing our face if you watch the video version on YouTube. And we also, of course, talk very freely and openly here. So, yeah, it is tricky. I wish I had like a straight answer to that, but I do think that we could probably be more personal. But I'm also very curious to hear what you listeners are thinking in terms of that.
Yeah, because me personally, when I see on Instagram now, when I see other brands that I know are like a one person brand, I mean, I love to hear. I think it's more common to do it in the stories than an actual post on Instagram. Like in the stories, then you can. It's a little bit easier to show, how do you say, behind the scenes, and a little bit. You just talk to the camera, like what's going on. And I do find those things very interesting. I mean, you become relatable in a completely different way, and then I don't mind that it's not sewing related at all. That just share what's going on in their life. Like, well, I mean, especially if, like, since I have small kids, if someone else also have kids, and how to balance mama life versus work life, and because that's relatable for me, but also otherwise just getting to know the person behind the brand. I do find that interesting, so I guess that's the same for other people as well. So I do wish to be more personal as well, but I don't know what really I would share. Maybe just pictures of my I'm looking at all my plants at the moment. Like, that's my when I'm not working or with my family, I'm taking care of my plants. So that's the only thing I can juicy things I can share, pictures of when my seedlings are growing. I don't know, are people interested in seeing that on a sewing account? So I have my other Instagram account for that.
Yeah, it's the same. I have also, that divided. I have my personal Instagram account and my Facebook account, where I'm a bit more personal, and I only share sewing stuff on the Last Stitch Instagram account. And I think it's basically, the thing is that we do build relationships. I mean, what they call like parasocial relationship. And I can imagine that because now we're doing the pod, and we do this every week, and I think if you're listening to us, you eventually get close to us. And we had several of you listeners saying that it feels like listening to a couple of friends chatting, and that you also feel a part of that chat when you're listening to us. And I think eventually, if our pod kept going years after year, I think people that will get more interested in what we are as persons beyond the pod. But I think if you are, for instance, starting a business or your Instagram account for sewing, if you start mixing private stuff immediately, I think that will be the wrong avenue to go, because that will mean that it gets a little bit confusing. Because you don't really have a reason to be interested in that person. So I think you have to start, building some kind of relationship or feeling of relationship and curiosity about that person, and then perhaps, because we do that, at least on our Instagram account of Stitching Talespod, we do share some personal stuff as well. For instance, in this post that for this week, you can also see my messy attic, for instance. Totally unrelated to sewing, but we have a point if you listen to last week's episode, number 52. But so I do think that eventually people will get more and more curious about those that they are following. But when the timing is right for that, I have no idea. And I'm also sure that for some part of our followers or audience, they will unfollow us when we start to get too personal or showing other bits of our life. So it's definitely not for everyone. So it's but on the other hand, those that are probably really really like us, they might appreciate and feeling even more engaged with what we're posting. So it's there's no like clear answer to that. I think it will depend on which one is kind of following us. So again, we would love to get comments on this particular topic. If you are curious when you follow someone for a specific topic, like you're perhaps doing with Malena and I, do you after a while get more interested in personal stuff as well? Be honest. You don't have to do the correct answer, say no, I only want sewing. Honestly, I think a lot of people are a bit curious on some stuff, for sure.
Yeah, here it's a little bit funny because I like other celebrities, I really don't care about their personal life, so to say. Like for example, a couple of my favorite rock bands, I have no idea what their names are even. I know how many people they are and where they're from. That's basically everything I know about the band. I don't really care about their personal life. I just like their music. I just listen to their music. But on the other hand, I gone down in the rabbit hole of Kardashians.
Yeah. I'm the resident expert. It's a fun fact. I actually know pretty much everything about the Kardashians. So I didn't know that you were kind of into that scene as well.
Yeah, no, just the last year, I think I started to watch it in the evenings. It's just like such a nice thing to just close your brain off. You don't have to think any productive things, just like watch somebody else's drama. It's so nice. So, in that sense, yeah, I do want to know the people behind it. Obviously, I know it's a facade that they are putting up. It's not that personal, but still. So I do have like this completely conflicting, no, I don't care about the people behind the music, whatever. But also I do want to see reality shows. So, it varies depending on which celebrity it is, I guess.
Yeah, and also the way you have kind of came in contact with them, because of the Kardashian, their personal life, albeit a very highly edited personal life, is what you're consuming. Whereas, for instance, if you're listening to music or enjoying a filmmaker or an actor, you don't really are that invested, perhaps, because you
no, exactly. That's the product. The music is a product, and their personal life is their product. So it is a little bit different there.
But I can imagine that if you had like an entryway to maybe a band, that they all of a sudden began to do a reality show or did a podcast where they were a bit more personal, I'm pretty sure that your interest will be kind of piqued, because then you start to open up that kind of gateway. But it has to be compelling, obviously, as well, because sometimes it's not, I guess Kardashians, their personal life is insane. So I guess most of us don't have such an insane, even though I've hinted that I've had some interesting dating life. It's not Kardashian level, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think so many people can keep up with them, so to say. But it's also a little bit like, now I really idolize these people who do these musics. I don't want to meet my heroes either, because I have already a picture of them. So I don't want to get that image destroyed by actually seeing what they are like. So that's a little bit also like a different thing. But I think and I also think like on Instagram now, like how personal should you be? I think it also depends on what purpose you are on Instagram. For me, for example, I have different Instagram accounts. When on my gardening account, I can be as personal as possible because that's where it's just friends who follows me there. I have no commercial purposes at all. But on my business account, I mean, if someone who doesn't know me comes to my account, I want them to be able to, scroll a little bit and instantly see on my feed what is this account about. Yeah. And I'm really bad at posting pictures of myself on my account, so I need to be better on that because you should be able to figure out who am I. I usually have, when I take nice pictures, I take help from a friend who is both a photographer and a model. So she is on my Instagram a lot. And then since I also post our podcast pictures, there are also a couple of pictures of you. So it's really not clear who I am. It could be that people are confusing it between my friend and you. So I need to be better on that because as a small business owner, you need to kind of have that personal connections also with your customers. Otherwise, I think it can be tricky to compete with everyone else.
Yeah, it's true. And I've actually, on my Instagram account, I show a lot of me. And that is the reason that you're mentioning, is because that's the only way I can get some kind of recognition. Especially
and you want to be relatable, that people should be, like, feel that you are easy to access, like it is easy to comment, like I know that I'm writing to you, it's not an Instagram bot or anything, like it is actually you who are responding to your comments. So I think that's kind of important.
Yeah, it is. But it also, I think the drawback of doing that is that it kind of puts a pressure on your looks, which is a bit of a difficulty, I think, honestly, a lot of those that are the most successful do have what we call in Sweden like a norm attractiveness, like kind of where the society has like agreement that this is a person that has a level of attractiveness, and that is a tricky thing, which is sometimes I feel like I'm not comfortable because I kind of like feel that I am part of that agreement in society that we have to have a certain look in order to be appealing. Of course there are lots of exceptions, but let's keep it real that a lot of the people even in our sewing space that are the biggest names have also, a certain like society agreed level of attractiveness, and that to me, and I also think when you age, for instance, how will that affect that? Because if you put your face out there, it kind of comes with that. So it's and I think that's important to think about because it is an issue, and I think we talk too little about that, honestly, and I just want to say that yes, I understand.
Yeah, no,
it's not for everyone.
No, I don't think that's just you and your face. It is every single pictures that I post on Instagram. I do want it to look pretty. I mean, nice lighting, good quality. The not proportions, but how do you say, like the layout of the pictures, like it should be like feel dynamic, it should feel natural. I mean, pretty pictures. You want to post that, of course, and you included, of course, if you are on the picture. So yeah, I mean, I am sitting in my not pajamas. I do have my sweatpants and the college basically all day, and I don't have makeup on since I work from home. So for me to actually, to glamorize yourself a little bit, to be able to take a pictures of yourself and have something to wear that you actually made to showcase. Yeah. It is. It doesn't happen in a couple of minutes, unfortunately.
No. Yeah. It's very true, because you have to like present the slightly polished, which we talked about before, and I think again, let's keep it real. Everyone says, we want to see the real you. Yeah, for sure, maybe on the stories, but honestly, that's not what we're selling here. I mean, we are selling like a polished product, and that goes unfortunately also in our own appearances, as you say. I mean,
on stories,
you want your hair
different.
to look,
Then I could be much more free of like what it looks like. But on your Instagram feed, on the grid, then I do want it to be appealing if somebody new comes and, because that's your first impression. And of course, as a business owner, you want the first impression to be good. So also relatable. I mean, some Instagram accounts you see are just like, I'm not talking about sewing related now. I think more in general products, that they are just posting like these amazing products, or interior design. I find a lot. It's like, but this is exactly the same pictures. You scroll and scroll, and it's basically the same beige picture of a tidied home, and it's just like, for me, that's just not interesting. So of course you want it to be a little bit personal, but not like, not. Yeah, it's a balance. not too polished,
it
but
is a balance.
a little bit polished.
It is a balance, and I've thought about that a lot too. For me as well. I mean, obviously, since I'm aging, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've definitely got a lot more grayer hairs and more wrinkles, and just a different appearance. And I mean, if I look at the stats of the people that are listening to this podcast and watching my YouTube channel, they are in the same age demographic, so between like 40 and 60, I think. So again, I'm smack in the middle. That I'm 52 for reference, in case you're wondering. But I thought about that. I mean, is there a cutoff date where my age will not be appealing? And I definitely want to think about that. And I hope it won't be. And I think we have seen more diversity in terms of age as well. But I think, it does kind of put a pressure on your looks in a way, because again, you want to hit that right spot somewhat, and that is also the peril. And for instance, say if something happened to your face, for instance, if you got like a burn injury, for instance, that altered your face, would you be just as comfortable showing your face? I mean, it might not be that way, and so that's also a thing when we do it like that, when we put ourselves out there, is that we have to feel comfortable about showing our face. And if you were a brand and hit behind that, you can just use a variety of models and to showcase your stuff. The
thing about age, if you're selling to 15-year-old, 19-year-olds, 20 early year olds, I mean, then I think your points would be valid, but the demographic of your followers are ish the same age as you, plus minus 10 years. It's not a problem. We all age, and while you are aging, your followers are aging as well, and then it's just natural to see somebody your own age looking your own age. I mean, that's fine. That's the thing that I really, this kind of youth-inspired age picture. It's like, no, can't we look the age we are? Like, come on. I mean, we get, I saw a post on Instagram, like Jennifer Lopez, there was some other I don't remember their names.
I guess
now.
Jennifer Aniston is another example. There's probably Halle Berry, I think, is also one of those.
This is how I don't remember how they are 50-year-olds, how they are looking. But it's like, part of their work life goes into keeping themselves looking young with all kind of different treatment. I have no idea what surgery, if there are any. But they are paying a lot of money. Like, that's not natural. Like, that's not let's keep that as a reference point of how you should look when you are that age. Like, no. Healthy. Like, let's keep ourselves healthy instead of focusing on age and how it looks. Yeah. So I don't think, I understand, like, your concern, because it is talked about so much, but F that. Really, no, I don't think we need to worry, because our listener followers are ish the same age as us, so they know what a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old person look like, so it's not a problem.
I hope you're right. It's definitely going to be interesting to discover, because I mean I plan to run this business for as long as I possibly can, and I definitely want to level up when I retire. So it's going to be interesting to see how that will feel and how that will work as I get older and older. So I'm definitely really curious about discovering that. So it's I think we've talked about a lot of good points here, and another thing that we now we talked of ourselves, but we are also, of course, we both have childrens and partners and things like that. So how have you thought about that? Because I think your children do one at least appear on your patterns, right? Or how do you have you had any thoughts about that? And
yeah, I mean, I have had a couple of I have I think it is 4-5 kids, 4 kids pattern and 1 baby pattern. So I mean, obviously, yeah, it's my kids and my friends' kids that are modeling those. And for me, I don't see a problem with showing the clothes on them. I don't write anything about my kids. I think here some general guidelines, rules, like how much. Yeah, I mean, this is a completely different topic, but exposing your children in social media, it's not. I can expose myself in however way I want to do it, but the kids, for me, I don't know what they, since they were so small, I mean, they don't grasp social media either. Pictures, I don't have a problem of sharing that, but further on, yeah, I don't know. It's tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky, because they do become part of your brand in a way, because you do show them, and I've done the same thing. And I should also, for backstory, I guess I'm going to be a little bit long-winded here, bear with me, but yeah, I started my sewing online presence actually about 20 years ago, and my kids has been featured quite regularly, because when I started also my blog, it was a way, because I used to work as a journalist, as a news reporter, and that's a very limited to what kind of stuff you can write. So for me, the blog was also a way of being personal. So I mixed sewing stuff with a bit more personal stuff, and also photos of my kids wearing stuff that I made, and a bit of storytelling. I also posted from our travels. So there was a bigger intersection for me, I think, between my family and my sewing brand, so to speak. And they always were very keen on being on the photos, and they also appear in I think in a YouTube video as well. I've now, obviously my kids are grown up, so it's a bit different, and I never really felt any kind of way about that. I felt it kind of felt organic, and because I enjoyed storytelling, and that was part of the storytelling. When I made garments for them, I posted photos and shared, and they have never ever expressed any type of bad feelings about that. In fact, I would say probably the opposite. They have been very keen. I mean, they're actually funny, because both I would say my children are a little bit on the introvert side, but they still always they were happy, because they feel like their life is being documented in a way that maybe not all other kids have been. So there are lots and lots and lots of photos of them, and they enjoy that there is like a collection. So they never asked me to remove anything or stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know, it was also, when I started, it was so early in the internet. I mean, we had such a journey now, because we do reflect so much more about putting your kids online. And I know that a lot of countries are also putting rules in place now for how kids should be. Should kids be in sponsored posts, for instance? And there's a tricky thing, there are lots of different variables. And I will say that maybe 20 years ago, and of course being exposed online, I think we were a bit more naive 20 years ago. So when I started, maybe I didn't have the same kind of reflection regarding these issues that someone would have today, because we know so much and have a much more awareness of the challenges of showing your kids online.
Yeah, yeah, it's and yeah, it's so tricky to say anything like how it should. I mean, obviously, it's such a complex question, but as long as it feels natural, like you're not. I mean, as soon as you try to force small kids, then it's then it's like, oh yeah, that's where the line is. I mean, if they don't want to be on the pictures, you gotta. I mean, obviously, you have to respect that. It's but yeah, it's a tricky, and it feels like a minefield. Like there are so many opinions here, and what is the right can be so different depending on families and situations and everything. But a question for you, since you have been online for such a long time, and I mean, you obviously have a huge YouTube channel. You mentioned dating earlier.
Yeah.
Have you in today's world, I mean, I have not been dating. I've met my husband many years ago, so it's a long time since I was on the dating market. But you obviously Google anyone you are going to date. Has any one of your dates Googled you and found your online presence? Do you have any juicy stories there?
Yeah, I definitely have. They definitely have. And I will say probably everyone has done it, but not everyone has told me that they've done it. I think I should also backstory, because I kind of... The reason why I've been dating is because I went through a divorce 4 years ago, pretty much exactly. And that in itself was a little bit tricky to navigate, because again, my ex-husband was also, part of the sewing blog. I made some garments for him, and, when I posted photos from our travels. So he was definitely like part of the story in a way. But since I do run a sewing brand, it didn't feel, it would have felt weird to do like a post on, hello everyone, just wanted to know that I've gotten divorced. So that in itself was kind of tricky. So I think, so the solution to that issue was that I did a YouTube video maybe 8 or 9 months after we had separated, where I did like an update video, what's been going on, like a sewing video. And then I also briefly mentioned the fact that I have separated, which also was the reason why I had gotten this sewing space where I am now, and I moved. But I purposely added that in the YouTube video rather than on the blog, because it's not searchable in that way. You really have to watch the video in order to get that brief moment where I do mention the divorce. I felt that was kind of helpful, because otherwise there have been too many question marks regarding all these changes and the fact that I was kind of burnt out, which was also, of course, part of the separation. And and also I should also mention that when I started my online presence, I was married with the father of my children. So I actually got through 2 divorces during my time as an online presence. So, but then it was such a early on when I divorced him. So I think I never really had to navigate that. It was more tricky with my second husband, because we were together for 15 years. So he was a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but he was somewhat mentioned from time and time on my social. But that divorce, of course, led me into being single for the first time in many years. And yeah, so just like most people, I've been dating. I've used online apps, and I've met people in real life that I have, dated for a while. And yeah, I have a couple of episodes. One, again, bringing back to my ex-husband. So in my living room, and I'm going to post a photo of, because I have 3 dresses that I've sewn that I've hanged on a rod in the living room, just as decoration. It's just nice to look at them, and I feel like add some warmth into the space. And one of those dresses is the wedding dress that I wore when I married my second husband, the one that I divorced 4 years ago. And so I've met this guy, not online, we met IRL. And so he's coming home to me for the first time, and he sees those dresses, and then he eyes the wedding dress, and he's like, right, that's the wedding dress that I've seen on your Instagram account, right?
Wait, what?
And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, right, exactly. So, and that was a while back, so he's gone down a lot in my feed.
Oh, really? That's like when you're scrolling on somebody, like you don't want to show like you are like, showing that you are investigating their past and you accidentally like a picture. That is like, whoopsie.
And that guy was very, frank, no filter kind of guy. So I'm pretty sure other guys that I've dated had also done the same thing, but they didn't like say it because.
Yeah, but of course you do that. I mean, who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't scroll down someone's Insta, Facebook, whatever,
so
to do a little research.
Yeah, and I was reading that because there was also posted photos with me and my husband, obviously because it was a wedding. So that's one story that was kind of when I first really got aware of it, and now I should also say I'm actually no longer single because I actually have a boyfriend now for the first time in 4 years, but which is fairly recent. And anyways, when we had a really nice first date, and we didn't really talk about. Yeah, I think we exchanged, because we met on Tinder, so we exchanged phone numbers, which is obviously the way to figure out what's my real name, because usually, unless you're familiar with dating apps, you just have your first name, you don't really tell, your last name, so you really have to tell them, or you can Google online, of course. So anyway, on our second date, he was like, I found your YouTube channel. And I'm like, wow, I had no idea, because you kind of downplay that when we met, and it's like, you have 100,000 followers, and you're so professional in your videos.
Like, yeah, it's my work.
Yeah, it's my work, and so that was kind of funny. I was like, and that also made me feel I was very flattered, but also a little bit embarrassed, because it felt like he had, and he has like no online presence, so it was very uneven, because I could not find, if I had to, it was pretty much impossible for me. So it kind of, he knew so much about me and seen me in so many different elements, and for me he was just still the guy that I've met the first time in a couple of hours. So that kind of, because obviously a lot of other people that I've been on dates with have done the same thing but haven't said it, and so they have so much, they know so much more about me and my personality and what I do than I know about them, which it kind feels a little bit okay.
Yeah, and it's a little bit funny, that feeling that before I had my own business, I actually wrote a blog as well, a personal blog that I started when I lived in Shanghai, mostly to keep a journal on what's going on, and share with friends, family back home, and just for your own sake as well too. I took so many more pictures and organized all those pictures when I was blogging. I missed that, because then you keep track of your photos. But when you have told something on a post, and then when you meet your friend and you want to share that story, and they're like, I read about it. It's like, wait, what? How? Oh, right. Like, it's like, that's, I could totally understand, like, that glitch is like, but that was, all right, somebody actually reads the posts. It's not just disappearing in the internet somewhere. Like, people are actually, they know it. And I totally get that. They are like, but that person is my friend. Like, no. You just follow her on Instagram. You're not her friend. You never met her. Like, it becomes for yourself also that weird, like, no, you actually don't know her. Sorry, I didn't. Yeah, weird. Yeah. But,
yeah, it kind of messes with your mind. I agree with you, and also because it's nice to not think about that, because we talk about that on the pod as well. That we don't. It's very, like, it's more relaxing in a way to think that you're just speaking out in a void, rather than imagining that you're seeing people that you talk to, because you do get more free, because when you start to like second guess stuff what you say, like who could that be interpreted? So yeah, when you write stuff, you obviously you know the people listen, right? But you kind of not want to think about it in a way.
You get surprised every time. It was like, oh, somebody actually listened or read it. Oh, wow, okay. I didn't think that. No, and I agree. Like you have to, I mean, when we have this podcast, for example, this is just me chatting with you. I have to have that mindset because otherwise, I mean, you know what it's like going on a stage and speaking in front of a lot of people. You get so nervous about that. I get completely stage fright. So no, I can't have that mindset when I pod with you. It's like, no. Here it is just us chatting. It is it's something completely else. It's just two friends chatting.
Yeah, I agree with you. You have to keep that mindset for sure. So another thing also I should mention about, because I do have, as we talked about, a large footprint online, but I will say one thing that I kind of struggled with when I was doing the apps is that I kind of downplay the fact that what I do in the profile, because I kind of felt that it wouldn't, attract the right type of people for me, because I kind of like humble guys and stuff like that, because I felt if I was, so I think I was a hobby sewist, I think I had a mention. And I remember when I went on a date with a guy and I kind of talked more about what I was doing, like actually doing, was like, okay, but that's not like a hobby. I'm like, yeah, I know. I just wrote that on Tinder because I didn't want to like appear too, because especially I think in Sweden, it's not really seen as like attractive to be very ambitious and, be a workaholic. So you have to like think about that. So I definitely, I do mention that I sew on the pod or on my profile. I did, but that was all. I never mentioned anything. I was, fronting my day job title and not what I do, because I found it too difficult to explain as well. And also,
Yeah, I mean, within the sewing community, everybody would understand like what it means and like how, But I understand for regular other people, so to say, not sewing people, then I mean, in today's world, the word influencer has a bit of a bad reputation, I would say. So I mean, if you don't really see yourself as an influencer, I mean, you don't really want to showcase that, maybe, which is a little bit, I mean, sad. Of course, I mean, I know you are proud of your work, but it's more how are other people gonna view that? So I completely understand it.
Yeah, it's probably it's probably pretty much impossible, I think, to use the word influencer and hoping to get a date. I think that's unless you're looking for the wrong kind of people. I think, unfortunately. Yeah, I think a lot of people would either be like turned off by it or just intimidated by the fact, and that kind of also. I thought that part was a little bit frustrating, because I am an entrepreneur, but again, honestly, I felt like the kind of guys I want to attract, I didn't want to like front that as well, because I wanted like to get more of the personal traits that I have, because it just, it was a little bit tricky to navigate, and so I'm glad I'm no longer single. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey to do this with all the footprints that I've left on the internet, for sure.
Yeah, so interesting. And I mean, it's also like, I mean, I completely understand also that, I mean, work, it's like such a big part of your life, and especially also if you are an entrepreneur, if you have your own business, I mean, then it becomes more of a lifestyle than an actual just I go here to earn money and then I go home and live my life. It gets so, your work life and personal life, it gets so intertwined. It's tricky to, since it's also our passion. I mean, we love to sew, we love to do these kind of things. So of course, I mean, we don't mind working on our spare time, evenings, weekends, whatever, because we love to do it, and we work for ourselves. Would I ever do it unpaid for somebody else? No, of course not. But since it's our baby, it's our third baby.
Definitely. And also not doing any alteration services for guys that I date.
That should be your Tinder profile.
That should be my Tinder profile.
Definitely.
That's
but no,
that's a
I
deal
won't
breaker.
hem your
Yeah.
pants. No, don't ask.
Yeah. Because I got a couple of questions like that. Is it easy to fix the zipper? I'm like, no, forget about it. I'm not going there.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember to just tie back to a discussion we had in the beginning when we spoke about our names versus our brand names, because we both have our given names, Malena Hjerpe and Johanna Lundström, but that's not the name that we are having online. And what's interesting about you, Malena, is that you actually made a pivot, because until about a year ago, I think, your brand name was Patterned by Malena, and then you made a switch. So could you talk a little bit about your thought process behind that?
Yeah, I mean, Patterned by Malena, it was never really like, yes, that's the brand name I'm gonna have, like, I love it. It was more of a, okay, I need to be personal, but I also want to showcase what I do, so Patterned by Malena. I mean, that was really like, it felt like a very forced generic name. I was never really happy about it. And yeah, it is a personal brand, but at the same time, it kind of felt like I do want to showcase my patterns more. So that's why I'm ready to make a pivot now and change it. Hazelhen Patterns, it's actually still a little bit related to my name, because my last name, Hjerpe, a little bit different spelling. It's actually a bird. It's a hazelhen or a hazel goose, but hazelhen sounded nicer. So I was like, okay, well, I'll take that then instead. It's still kind of my name, but yeah, it's more of a little bit more neutral, so to say. It's not my actual name, but related to my name. And yeah, it felt like it was time a year ago. I made a new website and everything, a little relaunch basically. So, but oh my god, it was a struggle to update all the PDF patterns and the sewing instructions with the name. So, I mean, choose your name well is my recommendation for any new started company. It was not fun to update all those things. And this is just my brand name. My actual company, like where I do my freelance work, that has a completely different name. So this is just the brand name for my PDF patterns. So I didn't have to do any like legal changes or anything to change the name. But yeah, think about it hard and take help. I mean, the Hazelhen pattern was actually, it was a friend of mine's recommendations or suggestions. Like, isn't that a great idea? Because I said to her, like, yeah, Hjerpe is Hazelhen in English. And she was like, go with that. And I was like, nah, I'm not, not a good idea. And then, 3-4 years later, I was like, okay, now I'm ready for it. It had to marinate for a couple of years. I don't know why.
Yeah, sometimes I think also sometimes when someone says it, you're not always prone to listen. You always kind of like to make it your own idea. Yeah. So it has to come from you. It's kind of interesting the way the brain works. So you're like, no, and then you're like, yeah, you were right, but I had to come to that conclusion myself. And it could take years sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's funny, how outside opinions, something or suggestions like. First, it might just seem like, just again, garden related thing. We had a garden designer here in the beginning, and she gave us a couple of suggestions over where to put things. And we have, do you call it trampoline? Like a bouncing, like where the kid bounce?
Yeah, I think it's called trampoline, yeah.
It's butt ugly and it's big. I don't like it, but obviously the kids love it, so we gotta keep it a couple of years still. So it's like, where to place that one? And I couldn't figure it out, and then she made a suggestion, like, why don't you put it far away in that corner over there? I was like, no, not gonna work. Completely dismissed it. Then, weeks later, we moved it halfway there, and then it was just epiphany or realization, like, but that's the corner. It's amazing. It's perfect. So, yeah, we moved the trampoline there. So it's like, yeah, even when somebody specifically tell you this is a good idea, it has to come from within. You have to be mature before you take some advice, basically.
Yeah, it's so true. That goes for business as well. I mean, I have no idea. So many times people have given me business advice that I can resist and then done anyways. Just took a couple of more years, to make it my own, I guess. We're a little bit delusional that way. And I guess it's true. It goes for anything. So I feel always hard to give friends advice because it has to come from themselves eventually, that they have to make their own decisions. So for sure.
Yeah, and maybe you're not ready for it then and there.
Exactly. That's probably that.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was the same with my brand name, because I've kept my brand name.
You have had it since the actual beginning.
Yeah. So when I started my blog in 2008, that was the name of the blog, and then when I decided to do a relaunch back in 2015, I kind of made a relaunch and made it a bit more professional. But then I wanted to change the name because I hated it. I want something mysterious and more intriguing. And there were several people, friends, were saying to me, but that the Last Stitch is a great name. Why change it? I'm like, I want to have. And I also bought, a couple of URLs, domain names, and an email address for another brand name.
What was that name?
Oh, I think it was. Oh God, because I got reminded about that because Gmail sent me a reminder of. You haven't used this email address in 10 years. 10 years. So do you still want to keep it? You have to do this. It was Cluello. I think Cluello. I'm like, what was that? It was kind of Italian sounding. And it was, so I felt that was a bit more unique, and the Last Stitch is just 3 words thrown together. It doesn't really sound any specific. But I never got around to it because I was too lazy. That was probably a good idea. So, and now it is me. So, but I agree with you. You have to it's such a hassle to do all the changes, and you have to find handles for everything as well. So I guess Hazelhen Patterns is unique enough, but a lot of words these days, it's going to be so tricky. But I have seen a couple of examples it working. I mean, the Canadian pattern brand Closet Case, they changed it to Closet Core, and I can only imagine what a massive undertaking that must have been, because they have print patterns and they had a huge brand. I mean, it's one of the biggest brands, and doing all those changes everywhere. It must have been a year-long process for them, I can imagine. But now we all say Closet Core Patterns. We don't say Closet Case. So eventually it can work.
Yeah, but if you are big, it's gonna be, the bigger you are. I mean, obviously the harder it's gonna be to change your name, because people are gonna have it top of mind. I mean, today, not sewing related at all, but a food store here in Sweden, Coop, used to be named Konsum, right?
Right. Yeah.
Still, I mean, when did they change the name? It was many years ago.
Decades ago.
Yeah. People on the street, they still say Konsum. They have not shifted the name. And I
am one of those persons. And I wonder, when I say that to my kids, they probably have no idea what kind of store I'm talking about. A Konsum. But they never correct me. They just smile and pretend.
Yeah. Everybody know which store you mean. It's tricky to change. I mean, also there was something you go to buy food every other day. It's so integrated. It's in the back of your mind. What is the name? And to change that, it's gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah. So as Malena says, think before, if you're in the throes of starting a business, definitely check, think a couple of steps ahead, and also make sure that you can actually get that name in all the kind of domains and social media and stuff.
Email address. Think carefully what your domain name will be, and then what your email address is gonna be. My business name, like my real work name, is Umeå Formgivning and Mönster AB, which is like so long. And then my website was Formgivning and Mönster, which then also became my email address, which is like a nightmare to say also to Swedish-speaking people, because that was in Swedish. To say that it's just like, sorry, stupid choice, short as possible. Domain name short as possible.
Very
your
true.
Email address also short as possible. So think carefully.
Yeah, that's very, very sound advice. So that was a pretty interesting discussion. I hope that you felt that as well, you listening or watching this episode. And of course, we'd love to hear comments about your thoughts around this. Do you enjoy people that you follow for a specific reason, that they show more about themselves? And what kind of content do you enjoy? If you do enjoy seeing more personal stuff, you can definitely drop us a note either on stitchingtalespod, our Instagram account, or you can also comment on our YouTube channel, stitchingtalespod. I should also say I do get some comments regarding our video podcast, because we do post a video podcast on our Stitching Tales Pod YouTube channel, but it's not also automatically posts the audio version. Sometimes I've seen comments saying, "Oh, where do we find the video version?" It's on the same channel. And on Monday evenings, Central European time, we post a video version of that. So that is before the audio podcast. So if you want to see the video version, it will be posted first, and then we post our audio podcast on Tuesday mornings. So that kind of explains the little bit of confusion there. That is double posted, and that's just the way it works. But now you know. You can always find the video version on YouTube.
Great. Yeah, love to hear. How personal should we be? Should Johanna start the Patreon online? OnlyFans is it called? OnlyFans account about personal life.
Patreon is kind of, if you pay to know OnlyFans, well, that's a bit juicier, and that's a different kind of photos than just me doing like dressed up garments. I think if I sewed more underwear, I think OnlyFans would be the place to go. So
new business idea.
But yeah, maybe we should do like a poll for this. Should Johanna start an OnlyFans account, a Patreon account, or should she just keep quiet? That's the three options. We don't want to know more about you, Johanna, or your dating life. All right, this was a really fun episode to record, and I hope you enjoyed listening to us, and thank you so much for listening or watching. My name is Johanna Lundström.
And my name is Malena Hjerpe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.